And we are live. It's your favorite insurance agent, DarnaldJr, and this is Finlit Live. This is the show where we talk about personal finances. And today we have a really exciting show. We're talking about mind over money. So we're going to talk about the attitudes towards money, how to have proper perspective, why people do what they do. Do you think it's important to understand why you buy that one item versus the other item, why you don't save or why you do save? So these are all the topics we're talking about today. But before we get started, if you are watching live, go ahead in the chat, put hashtag live. If you're watching a replay, put hashtag replay. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get lit. All right, so today I'm excited to have this guest on because from the day I met him, I was super impressed with him. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Lou Rosado. Hey, Lou, how's it going?
Blessed and grateful, my friend. How about yourself?
Fantastic. It's a great day to have a great day, right?
Amen. Amen.
So, well, go ahead and introduce yourself. Who are you and what are you up to?
Yeah, Lou Rosado Jr. I am a fee-based financial advisor, which is slightly different from your traditional financial advisor. We work more on a flat fee as opposed to commission-based. So it's a little bit different,
Excellent. Well, being a financial advisor, I'm pretty sure you've seen a lot of different scenarios and you have your own story. So let's go ahead and start there. Let's start with your story. Like, what inspired you to become a financial advisor? What's your backstory?
Yeah, so I'm 46 now, and 6 years ago, we were registering my son for college. And we're sitting in the office and we're going over the finances of it all. And that's when I realized how financially illiterate I actually was. She was asking me questions to which I had no answer. Do you have any investments? No. Do you have a 401k, 403b, 457? I was like, I don't know what these numbers are, but I don't have any of them. She said, well, what about a 529? 529 what? What is that? Oh, it's a college fund. Okay, well, I wasn't aware of that. No, I don't have any of that. So we got there, to my son's university, or soon to be university, and the highest of highs. I didn't go to college at that time. I hadn't gone to college yet. And here my son is about to go. So we went in and I was feeling amazing. And then I just left there feeling so dejected, regarding over my savings. And up until that point in time in my life, I felt like I was winning, so to speak. I had a very troubled childhood, especially from a financial perspective. So to be able to pay my bills on time, right? I was winning. I was doing things the right way. And that's when I realized that that was not, in fact, the case, that there was much more that I was supposed to be doing. And that is when the whole financial advisor thing became apparent to me, that I needed to speak with one. But unfortunately, nobody would speak to me because I didn't have a lot of discretionary income. $150,000 minimum, $250,000 minimums. You've got to bring to the table and for manageable assets in order for them, for you to be worth their time, so to speak. And I didn't have that. And trying to get to that, starting to hit your market value. What am I worth out there? And although I had a ton of leadership experience, I had no college education at all. So at 41, I decided to go to college. It was a year later, pardon me, just under 2 years, about 21, 22 months. I got my associate's degree, general studies, my bachelor's degree, business management, operations, and logistics. And I got my state licensing to be able to sell life insurance, which is the first step to become a financial advisor, and started the securities process to get my securities licensing so I could become a financial advisor. And my thought process was, if I can't get anybody to teach me to do it, then I'm going to learn how to do it myself and then find others to teach about it. So a question I'm often asked is, who's your ideal client? Who's your ideal referral? Me, right? Someone who wants to know more about finances in every capacity and as granular as we need to be. You know, if we've got to break it down, say this is a stock, this is how you make and how you lose money, and this is a bond, you know, and we'll build from there if need be. Now, granted, someone such as yourself, we don't have to go that get that granular with it, but I welcome the opportunity, should it present itself, to be able to take someone, you know, to start from there, that mound of clay, right, and then mold and build it into something. And that's led me here where I'm at so far on shows like yours.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like you started from scratch, and sounds like it's fairly recent then, and you've gained quite a bit of knowledge in a short amount of time. And how has that personally helped you and your family, and what changes have you implemented since you became a financial advisor?
Yeah, we're leaving New Jersey for starters, right?
Nice.
Yeah, so the firm, I'm also vice president of administrative affairs for the firm, and we are based out of Houston, Texas. So I lived here in Houston, and I hesitate because not a lot of people were aware of that. Everyone, so surprise, right? I actually moved here. Everyone was under the general idea that I was just traveling a lot, which was accurate. I was traveling a whole lot, but it wasn't to Houston. It was from Houston. It was a plan that my wife and I put together. It took us quite some time because she was going to be home by herself with the kids, holding things down while I was here building, one, my new career, two, the next chapter in our lives. My son is 22. My daughter is 18. So we're about to be empty nesters. She's going to go off to college, so we had decided years ago, we were going to leave New Jersey. We just didn't know when, where, and God laid things out for us by way of my education and then the career path, and when the small window that we have with the kids, everything worked out perfectly. And this was the catapult, so to speak. But we had to endure a year apart. I'd go home once every 3, 4, 5 weeks for a week and then come back. By far the most challenging thing we've ever had to overcome in our marriage. And there's no way, if we weren't rock solid, it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have worked. So for a full year, that happened.
That's intense. And so it sounds like you made a little bit of sacrifice for a long-term gain. And I'll be the first to say, welcome to Houston.
Yay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
All right. So let's dive into our topic for today. So
yes, sir.
We're talking about mind over matter, unpacking the emotional drivers for financial choices.
Yes.
I always love the phrase, people get funny when you talk about money.
Money.
There's a reason for that. So what is your perspective? Like, what are some of the emotional drivers that influences people's decisions on the financial choices they make?
Yeah. So I had one client, she said, you're not my financial advisor anymore. And I thought she was firing me. And I said, what's the matter? She said, you're my financial therapist.
Nice.
And it took me a second, but I understood where she was coming from. I often tell people I'm a financial advisor that doesn't care anything about making you money. Because the making money aspect of it, that's the residual effect. That's going to happen, right? Even if I said none, this is a horrible financial advice, right? But if someone just said, put all your money in the S&P 500 and leave it alone, don't do anything else. You don't need anything else, right? Will you make money? Chances are very, very good that you will, right? But there's so many other vehicles that you could use, obviously diversifying your portfolio and et cetera, right? The basics of investments. So the making money aspect of it doesn't drive me, right? It doesn't push me. I tell, if you were to call me up, if you're my client and you call me up on a Sunday night and I'm in the middle of watching football and you want to know how much money you make, I'm going to tell you I'll call you back on Monday, right? When I get back into the office. Same situation, but instead you're asking me, I heard some things about the market and I'm worried about my son's 529. How are things looking? I'm going to pause that football game and I'm going to crack my laptop open for you, right? Because that's what pushes me. That's what fuels me. The making money part of it for you, that's good. Again, that's going to happen, right? So what happens is if there's something that's preventing you from growing the way you want to, that's what we're going to dive into, right? So if you've got spending habits that are not conducive to the growth that you want in your life, not addressing that and just trying to make you more money is like going into a burning building and turning off the alarm. The building is still on fire, right? We haven't addressed the problem. We need to put the fire out. And that looks different for everyone. For me personally, I grew up my younger years poor, right? Very, very poor. We had a kerosene heater that was everything. That was our stove, right? We'd heat up water to put in a tub, right? The whole 9 yards. And then went to go live with my grandparents, very modest, right? Had everything we needed, everything we needed. My grandfather taught me how to work. My grandmother taught me how to love, right? And by no means were we broke. Didn't necessarily do the family vacation thing, right? But we had what we needed and then some. And then went back to go live with my mother. And financially speaking, things were beyond difficult. Not necessarily poor, but definitely flat broke, right? So that creates scar tissue. You fast forward just a few years, I'm 17, 18, and I'm working. I have a car, I'm making money. And I clearly remember getting off of work and going to the mall, right? Now I'm going to date myself, but I'd go to the mall and I'd go into the music store and I would buy CDs, just random CDs, simply because I could now. It's something I wanted to do, so I will, right? Went to the mall with no intentions other than see what I feel like buying. Now, an outsider looking at that might just say, well, that he's just a kid being a kid, irresponsible. He doesn't know yet. He hasn't been educated enough. And part of that is also accurate. But the other part of it is that stems from not being able to and hearing we can't afford that. No, we can't do that. No, we don't have the money for that. Well, now I do. So now I'm just going to go nuts, right? And that happens more often. It happens a lot more than people think. And here's where the meat and potatoes really from this conversation comes from. A lot of times it's a subconscious thing. We don't even realize that we just chalk it up to bad spending habits. I just don't know any better, right? But when we do a deep dive, we see where that's coming from. And those are some very, very difficult conversations to have, especially, and not to veer off, but when you get into the areas of financial abuse, that's very painful. There are 3 types of financial abuse. The first one being one partner in a relationship is dominant controlling of the finances to the point where you have an allowance, right? You're only allowed to spend when I say you can spend. That environment, right? And that's a very gray area because if you're a household that's living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm the one controlling the finances, we'll use me as an example. Yeah, you do need to clear it with me before you go and you spend $200 on Amazon. That's not abuse. We're just really tight right now, right? So where's that line, right? Where's that line at? And that can be blurred, and a person can fall into not even realizing that they're being financially abused. Another form of that is children or the elderly, right? When someone else is in control of those finances, you hear things like, child actors, right? And they're adults now without a penny to their name because their parents blew it all. right? Or the situations wherein someone is taking care of an elderly individual. They take all of their Social Security money, they pay for the worst, senior citizen living they have, and keep the rest. All right. So that's the second form. And then the final form of financial abuse is just one party just being completely irresponsible, right? I'm trying to do everything that I can to keep us fiscally sound, but you're just swiping away on that card, right? And running up the debt and running up the debt. And these are more often than not, the allowing of that behavior to happen stems from something much, much deeper than that actual sin. That's the result, right? The poor credit scores is the result. The high credit card balances, that's the end result of what's happened, where the behavior stems from. That is what takes a lot of time in some cases to get down to. I've had conversations with clients. We'll talk hour and a half, and not a single thing will be about what we're saving and what we're going to be spending and how we're going to be investing. It's doing a deeper dive into that individual to put that fire out so that we can go ahead and start rebuilding anew.
Wow. That was deep.
Yeah, that happens sometimes.
Wow. So sounds like you should just officially change your title to financial therapist.
Financial therapist, right? I actually, ironically, maybe 3 days ago, I actually did do it on Facebook. I had one client and one client who had just hired me that day, but an hour and a half conversation with one and just under an hour conversation with the other one. And I said, that's it. I'm adopting the title. I am now a financial therapist, right? Forget money. We'll get to money eventually, but let's get you right first.
Excellent. So it sounds like you dive deep into people's stories and you find out the psychological reasons why they're doing what they're doing currently. Have you seen a theme? Is there a recurrent pattern between all the stories that you've interacted with so far? And what are some of like 2 or 3 things that are the root causes for some of the behaviors, like going into the debt or being financial abusive to their spouse? What are some of the recurrent themes you've seen personally?
Yeah, the dominant one is with the younger generation. They just don't get the education in school. They get very little, if any. I know my daughter took one financial literacy class, I believe it was maybe her freshman year in high school. It was like one semester, very, very brief. Something like that would be better later in their high school years, when they're actually able to make some money, right? But even that it's almost like that's an anomaly anymore. They just don't get any form of financial education in school. And then they go from there right into college, right? And then they graduate from college. Great. You're $150,000 in debt. Go live your life, kid. That's very, very common anymore, especially if they come from a household, essentially like what mine was, right? Where we don't have financial conversations. That wasn't a thing growing up in my household. And it became that over the past few years, obviously, as I made the career move, my daughter's got some money invested. I bought her a couple shares of a few things. She gave me $500, bought her S&P. Funny, I bought her, she had enough to get one share of Amazon. So I explained to her exactly what that means. She says, so basically I control your packages now. I think you need to respect me, Dad.
She's taking ownership. I love it.
Yeah, totally. I think I created a monster with that one, right? But definitely, that is the most common theme with the newer generation. And there's so much of a here and now, right? It's an instant world anymore. You grab your phone and you go to open up Facebook, and if you get more than 2 swirls, you're just going to put it down and do something else. You're done. You're done already, right? If you can't buy something as simple as you can on Amazon, you're just not even going to shop from that retailer anymore. Amazon with the one swipe, buy it, it's on its way. It'll be here, sometimes same day even, right?
Mhm.
So we're such an instant world anymore, which goes totally and completely against your traditional, financial planning. It's a long process. For a full comprehensive financial plan, it could take a few months to put that together, right? To do a deep dive into every nook and cranny, right? And see what's going on, everything coming in, everything coming out. What are your goals, your dreams, your aspirations? And how do we carve that path from where you are to where you want to go? I've had clients here, you need to talk to my son. How old is he? 23. I have a 23-year-old client who's extremely savvy, complete anomaly though, right? And that's not to say that there are not other 23-year-olds that aren't as wise or open to learning, but it's just not instant. I have to show them, listen, this is what it looks like if you contribute $50 a month. This is what it looks like if you contribute $75 a month. And it's like all right, we can do that.
Hmm.
And I clearly, you can't work with that. You have to be just as committed, as your financial advisor is. It's a partnership. We use the analogy of a Sherpa. For those who aren't aware of what a Sherpa is, they are the ones that guide people up Mount Everest, right? They don't equip the climber and tell them what to do, right? They climb step by step, stride by stride, up there with up the mountain and then back down the mountain together. It's a journey together. We're not a pilot, jump in the back, we got you. We'll land in LAX in 3 hours. That's not how we function. So it's got to be a partnership, and it's very, very difficult with the younger generation. But that's where working under a flat fee comes into play. I have the time because I'm not commissions based, so I'm not incentivized to sell products, so to speak. I can spend that time, but you've got to be willing to give that time as well. And it's harder with the younger ones.
Absolutely. Wow. You just unpacked a lot of different topics there. Like the fact that kids are not taught in school. And that's very impressive that your daughter's high school actually had a financial literacy class as a freshman. But to your point, like money is not even on the radar at that point. Like they don't have a job. I actually tried to start a financial literacy class myself for middle school people. And the participation rate was dismal. They didn't want to hear it. They just came for the free food and they're like, when is this over? So it's like, how do we capture that next generation? How do we inspire them? And then another point you made is that it was taboo growing up for you. And it's the same for my family. Like talking about money was not discussed over a kitchen table. I still to this day don't know how much money my dad made, and I don't care to know, but they were joking he was a millionaire during his retirement. I'm like, what? That guy a millionaire? No. He drove a Honda Civic his whole career. What? So I'm just like, I was blown away. And so it's just incredible that it is so taboo and that our education system doesn't teach us. And it's tragic in my opinion, because if we prep kids, especially kids in the junior, senior, even early college level, to have the financial wisdom, I think they could get started on a better foot in life. And also to your point that kids are graduating with over $100,000 in debt from college. Like we're the first time in history where college debt is even higher than credit card debt. And it's
insane.
It blows my mind. Yes. It's like, how can people get ahead if they're starting $100,000 in the hole, and to build their credit, to be able to buy a house, to be able to set that foundation? And so from your perspective, like, how can we switch the narrative? How can we change that? What is the solution? Like, what are the answers? Give me the answers, Lou.
Yeah. If only it were that easy, right? So that's such a huge issue. One part of it is, and I'll call out my own industry. We have to do our part, right? You can turn on to MSNBC, and you can and they say things for ratings, right? Recession, 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 and they get people scared, and almost like they're trying to speak a recession into existence, right? But it draws people in. I get it, and they've got bills to pay. But education and educating people, and spending time. I tell people all the time, I have two bank accounts. One I have to put money into because I've got bills to pay, and the other one is a spiritual bank account because that bill is going to be due one day soon too, right? And I need to deposit into both of those accounts equally, or I'm not centered, I'm not balanced in my life, and I'm not here to say, oh, you need to be like me, but we as an industry need to understand that the way things have been doesn't necessarily mean that's the way they have to be forever. There are things that they work, right? So let's do that, right? Because they're working, right? So if it ain't broke, right? But we have to figure out some way to reach the younger crowd now. It's just some, there aren't as many pensions anymore, right? Companies have gone away from pensions. It's not like it used to be where you put in 30 years at this, warehouse or what have you, and now you have this solid pension and you'll be okay. Definitely not the case anymore. It's with it being, and this here, if we don't figure out how to use this to get to the younger crowd, we're going to lose it. We're going to lose it. You've got kids that can go on Acorns and transfer $1,000 over and buy, and then say, well, what do I need you for? Right. And then they don't have the attention span for me to fill in those blanks. Right. There's so many other blind spots and so many what if scenarios. But by the time we're halfway through that conversation, they're on 2 conversations deep. They're flipping on Instagram. They're doing selfies, and it's so difficult. Definitely need the parents to get on board. And I love those scenarios, right? When I've got like a parent and a child, right? Or their child, that's just a child, but their child. Those are ideal situations. Even if the kid is doing something small just to introduce them. My daughter sees what her little $500 has grown to in just the year that she's had it. She's seen it go up. She's seen it go down. She's asked some questions. She understands. We have to. We can't say they'll figure it out. They're not all going to figure it out. I can promise that much. Not without us. Not without us. So we have to do better as an industry to get to the younger crowd.
Absolutely. Yeah, I just typed in an interesting stat. I was wondering, what is the average age of a financial advisor? Do you know what that number is? You probably do since you're in the industry.
Yeah, I believe it's in the early 40s, right? Early to mid 40s.
Higher.
Is that right? Yeah, I thought it was about 43, 44. 55. Wow.
55. They say 61% of financial advisors are over 40.
So yeah, there's a part of that that's a necessity. There's a small part of that's a necessity because you've got to experience life, right? I've experienced some things that a client can relate to. It's one thing to have all the analytics and to have all the knowledge, right? But the one thing, and this is me personally, and I can speak on behalf of a lot of clients, they don't want you to sit there and say, okay, well, this is your scenario, so this is what I'm supposed to do, right? You have to have a certain amount of experience and or discipline to be able to connect to people. And that's another thing, right? People do age old. I'm not making this part of it up, right? People do business with who? People that they like and that they trust, right?
Absolutely.
So if you have that $500,000, how are you going to feel signing that check over to a 22-year-old kid who just graduated college? Right? Like, what do you know about life? And you're going to guide me. I'm 46 years old. My son is your age, and you're going to guide me through life right now. So there's a certain truth to that. I have met some people that are very, very young, that I'm learning from. And complete humility. By all means, please tell me more. I don't care. You're 30, whatever. Teach me more. Right. They are generally second generation advisors. So they grew up in it. Right. It's very rare. I don't know if I've even met anyone who's there is one. He owns my firm. Right. He's not even 40 yet. Right. Nor is his wife. They're under 40. God bless them. Black under 40, and own a financial planning firm. But that is rare. You don't come across that, right? So there is that aspect of it where you do need to be, seasoned just in life in general. And then there's just so many moving parts when it comes to being a financial advisor. That connectability, right? That's got to be in there as well. So I didn't think it was 50 plus though. I'll tell you that.
Absolutely. So the connectability and the credibility is what I'm hearing from you.
100%. And that takes time.
Absolutely. Well, you dropped a lot of gems. I'm pretty sure our audience is chomping at the bits. It's like, how can I get a hold of Lou? Like, how can I reach out to him to help him dissect my situation, figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing? So how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I am very public on social media. My page is wide open to the public. You can find me on there. It's very, very normal. In fact, I would say anywhere from 2 to 4 times a week, I'll get a random direct message from someone who I didn't even know was watching, and was following my posts. I got one from someone in Colorado, a school teacher from Colorado. A post that I put up, it rang a bell with her. She needed to have a conversation. We had a conversation, and now we're going to work together. Right. I definitely use social media a lot. So, and you can find me Lou Rosado Jr. right on Facebook. I'm trying to get a little bit more active on Instagram. I won't lie. But Facebook is definitely my bread and butter. Easiest. And it's the easiest and quickest way to get a hold of me.
You and I both.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be more active on Instagram. I'm trying to be more active on TikTok, but Facebook, we saw Facebook from the birth of it and watching.
And I think that's a big part of it now, right? I'll see someone, a recommended friend, and we've got 67 friends in common, and I've never met this individual. How we've missed each other, I don't know, right? LinkedIn, I'm starting to gain a little bit more traction on LinkedIn. Clearly a different, environment. I gave up on TikTok though. I gave up on it.
Give up on TikTok. Like, if we want to reach that next generation,
I know you're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm going against my own words now, right? It's just so difficult there. You've got your window is this big, darn it. I mean, that's it. You've got 3 seconds to get them, or they're scrolling on.
Absolutely.
And ironically enough, that's where the most damage is done. I get so many questions from people. Hey, I saw this on TikTok. Hey, I saw this on TikTok. Is this true? Does this work this way? Especially with IULs. For those who are not familiar with what an IUL is, it's a type of life insurance policy that also does some investing on the side. And it's being pitched far too much as an investment product, and it is not that. Like any other tool, it's a phenomenal tool when used properly, right? You don't want to use a drill as a hammer. You're going to break it, right? But a drill, you can
Right.
drill screws, you can drill holes, you can do a bunch of things with the drill. And that's what, these index policies, when used properly, they're phenomenal. I have one, right? I love this thing, right? Got one on my wife, right? But we're using it in the way it should be used. And just so many, TikTokers and YouTubers and Instagrammers they're just abusing this thing. They are. So, but I do welcome when someone does reach out. It's like, thank you so much for asking me first before you bought this thing. So yeah,
Absolutely.
but
Yeah,
I tried to do a deep dive into,
The big buzzword right now is infinite banking. Infinite banking.
There it is. Yep.
So
that's it.
Yeah, it's all about education and understanding how it truly works. And there's only a select specific situations where it makes sense, but for the majority of people, it doesn't make sense.
I've done fairly well with fighting off Father Time, but these guys are going to give me some gray hairs. Let me tell you, I can't fight that. They're gonna stress me out. I can't take it anymore. I can't.
Absolutely. Well, I know you're a busy man, so I appreciate you for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show. You definitely dropped some gems, and definitely share this show with your friends, family, clients, prospects, people in the future, because this is going to bring you a lot of credibility because you did a phenomenal job. And I appreciate your humility. I appreciate your openness. Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate it. And listen, don't sell yourself short. The shows that you do, the spectrum, the range is so broad. So kudos to you for putting good, reliable content out there as well. You keep on keeping on. I'll keep on keeping on, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle, and maybe we can put a dent in this thing together.
Absolutely. We might not be able to change the world, but we could change the world for one person, right?
There it is. That's it.
So, all right. Well, we'll talk soon and hang out in the lobby as I wrap up the show.
Good deal.
All right. So if you got any value out of today's show, please go ahead and smash that like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to FinLit Live. And so we go live every Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. to educate you on everything personal finance related, anything from cryptocurrencies to real estate, to financial advising, to budgeting, to having the right mindset behind money. Because where you want to, the difference between where you're at financially and where you want to be is education, but also application. So that's where the rubber meets the road. And so definitely don't just listen to what Lou said today, but actually take it and apply it to your personal situation. And if you need a financial advisor, definitely reach out to Lou. I could vouch for him. He is a solid guy. He has a really high character and he leads with his heart. So he'll definitely lead with caring for your personal situation. So definitely reach out to him. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. We'll be live again this time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time next week. And I appreciate you guys for getting lit.